This is George Dionne of the Rock is George podcast, and this is a KNAC.com exclusive interview with vocalist LORRAINE LEWIS of the hard rock act Fem Fatale. Well, I'll give you the question I give everybody at first, and that's if I knew absolutely nothing about LORRAINE LEWIS, how would you describe your music to me?
Rock and roll, 80s rock. I'm from the big hair days in the 80s, moved to LA to get a record deal. So I would say Hollywood rock and roll. I don't consider myself a metal babe, although I've been kind of put into that category. I'm straight up rock and roll.
I'd have to agree with that. And you recently released a single. It's called Bad Love. Under the banner of Fem Fatale, the band that you debuted with back in the 80s. Why don't you tell me a little bit about this song, Bad Love, and what inspired it?
Well, I've been working with the fabulous Steve Brown. Steve Brown is a good friend, a great producer, obviously worked with Ace Frehley as of recently, the last album, 10,000 Volts, and was coming off the success of that. And we had a conversation about a year ago. It might have been 2 years ago in May. And I said, let's make a record. And he said, let's make a record. And that's what we did. And we basically went out, got a deal with Cleopatra Records. They got on board. And Steve and I have been writing and working together for the past year plus. The first single that came out was Living Like There's No Tomorrow, and that hit in June. Our plan with Cleopatra is to release singles like every 8 to 10 weeks, singles and videos. And so we just dropped the newest single, Bad Love. I've gotten some great players on the track, which, Steve is very much involved with all of that. Steve knows everybody, and everybody loves and knows Steve. And so he has rounded up some amazing musicians for recording. This particular track, Bad Love, Bumblefoot played the slaying lead on it. The guitar lead is so sick and so beautiful and so sassy, and I love it. And then there was Joey Casada on drums, Sean McNabb on bass, David Julian, and Steve Brown on guitars. And I will say the song was written by myself, Steve Brown, and David Julian. I want to make sure that I get that in. And we shot a video in September. And Bumblefoot was on tour. He was in Jakarta, so he couldn't be a part of the video. And Joey Casado was on tour. So I brought in Nick Mason on drums. And then Steve kind of tells it kind of funny. He says, he does the lead in the video, but it's Bumblefoot on the track. And Steve is like, I did my best with the video, but the video was great. I definitely wanted there to be fire in the video because the chorus starts out with "Your red flag is on fire, don't pull me into the flame." And I think that, at least for me, in relationships, and I think we've all been there, you see a red flag, but they're hot. The guy's cute. He's so awesome. But the red flag is like there, but you ignore it. I've done it so many times. And so my new thing is red flag on fire. Like, no, your red flag is on fire. That's the only way that I'm going to stay away when I know it's not good for me, because I have a tendency to jump in. So I think some other women and men do the same thing sometimes. So that's the song, and that's what it's about. It's like the pull and push of, do I jump in, do I not? And am I going to get burned in the end? And I love the track. I love the song. It's sexy. It's in your face. And I'm really excited about it. So thank you for letting me talk about it.
I watched this music video last night. You have some fire throwers in it. How does one go hiring a fire thrower?
The internet, Instagram. Instagram is the easiest way to connect with people. And I will say a couple of things about the Fire Girls. Versace, Bunny, Phoenix, and Darby. Great fire throwers. They breathe fire, they spit fire. They're amazing. They're beautiful girls. They're really talented. As a matter of fact, a little secret, on Friday, I'm actually going to be working with Bunny because I'm going to learn how to do that myself. So I'm really excited. I'm going to be playing with fire on Friday and I cannot wait. I've got to make sure that I have my hair like in ponytails or pigtails pulled back. But yeah, I found the girls, myself and Vicente Cadero, who directed the piece. We went on the internet and we found these great girls, and I communicated with them, and I wanted them to all look a certain way, and they showed up just the way that we had talked about. They were great. It was a long day. It was a hot day, and they were very, very involved, and their attitudes were great. So I'm excited to learn how to do that on Friday. You know, I'm full of surprises. I'm always challenging myself. And if something looks shiny and fun, I want to jump right in. So I'm going to do that on Friday. I also do want to mention Eva Angelina, who is the firefighter in the video. She's a real firefighter. Not only does she come from the adult industry and she's a friend of mine, but she is the real deal. And that happened because of the internet as well. Instagram. I saw a photo of her in this firefighter outfit. And I was like, is that just a prop? Is it Halloween? Like, what is it? And so we were talking, and no, she's the real deal. Like, she's experienced. She firefights in Florida. So I thought it's like, you're gonna have fire, you gotta have a firefighter. And I think that we had some fun with it and made it kind of cheeky. And I'm all about cheeky. I want to have fun. Don't take it all so seriously. Let's just have fun.
That's right. Now, Femme Fatale has about 3 singles out now. I've read different things on who's a member of Femme Fatale, who's backing you up. I mean, you've talked about Steve Brown helping you with some of the songwriting. It appears in the video. I've heard the name Joel Hoekstra thrown around, Sean McNabb. I've heard Matt Starr. Who's in Femme Fatale today?
I would say there is a rotating door, and that being because the musicians that I know, the musicians in LA or New York, everybody's busy. Like, you know, the Trans-Siberian Orchestra is getting ready for the holiday time. I know Joel is really involved in that. So is Sean McNabb. Steve Brown has his own holiday vibe that he does. You know, these guys are working musicians. So Joel has played on 2 of the tracks that have not been released yet, actually, that are coming. And we talked about him being in the band, and he said he's on board. He also said, Cher is number 1 for me. And so, you know, I'm well aware that, you know, Joel is a hot commodity, and Joel has a lot of other projects that he's doing. I believe he's doing something with the Whitesnake name now as well. So for me, I would love to have Joel be a part of it 24/7, but you know, I'm not putting people on salary. I'm not, you know, I'm not giving them a rate. So for me, it's about producing and creating great music with a great sound. And then when it comes time to touring, I'll see who is available. I mean, I do have some dates that are booked right now in Australia in March. And you will have to stay tuned as to who my band is. I'm not going to say a word right now. But yeah, it's not like how it was back in the day where I had a band and we were all, you know, family and we were like a gang. It's not like that anymore. These are really top-notch working musicians, and I am honored and grateful to even have them on the project and in the camp at all. And so I will, when the time comes and it's time to play, I will look at everybody and figure out who's going to go out on tour with me. And it'll probably be rotating. You know, it'll probably be changing. I think that the one consistent most of the time is Sean McNabb on bass. But I just worked with Phil Soussan in Las Vegas a few weeks ago too. So I'm just really grateful that people are showing up and being so supportive. I know that I am not the priority for all of these rockin' dudes. I know that. But again, as I mentioned earlier, I'm the girl that I have a dream from back before I moved to LA. And that dream is not completely fulfilled yet. I've had some great moments and had done some amazing things, but I'm not done yet. Don't count me out. I'm just going to keep going. I will always be dancing on tables. I will always be rocking and rolling. And that's just how I live my life. So when people want to put a fork in me, it's just not going to happen. And people try to do that. The internet is full of nasty scoundrels that want to, call me a grandma. Well, first of all, I don't have kids, so I can't be a grandma. And I like, what's the problem? Like, can't we just all support each other and keep rocking and rolling and doing what we love to do? And if you don't dig what I do, it's okay too. I don't love everybody, right? I don't love every bit of music that runs across my Instagram, but you know, you don't really have to like cut somebody down if they're really into doing what their dream is. And that's where I'm at. I'm going to live my life to the fullest, woo, and live it like there's no tomorrow. I mean, I'm just going to keep on going. So fuel to the fire. When people tell me that I should stop or give up, it just feeds the fire within me. I don't have any husbands or boyfriends or dogs. They're all gone. And I'm just going to have fun this chapter of my life. So, na 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 na. Did I jump on a soapbox?
Not really. You made for a great segue to the Femme Fatale single, Living Like There's No Tomorrow. You mentioned it just then while you were talking. I was going to say this appears to be your life lately, and you pretty much just proved that to me.
Yes, I mean, I really, I wake up. Well, let me roll back. Every night I go to bed and I say to myself, something amazing is going to happen for me tomorrow. And I wake up every morning and I say, something amazing is going to happen today. And I'm telling you, it does. And I think that people, if you get into that mindset, there are so many things that happen in the course of a day, a week, a month that would blow your mind if you really keep track. One of them yesterday when I woke up and the news came out, like I knew an hour before the Bad Love premiere party that I had in Hollywood. I knew an hour before that I had been booked for Australia. I got the email, but I was like, I wasn't telling anybody really, right? I was just like, excited. And then yesterday I wake up and I go online to post like I always do, good morning, babes, good morning, babes. The truth is, Instagram and social media is like my social life. I'm not even kidding. It really is my social life. And I love everybody that follows me. And I really do feel a connection with them that most people would probably think is kind of weird, but I really like the people that follow me. Anyway, so I wake up, I go online, I look, and sure enough, there's a poster for the Australia dates. And that to me was my big, something amazing is going to happen to me today. And, because I was kind of wondering, it's not until March, that's like 5 months away. So I just wasn't really sure when the news was going to come out. And that was a great thing to be able to talk about yesterday. So, life is good.
Well, you mentioned yourself and Cleopatra are going to start introducing singles every 8 to 10 weeks. You have about 3 of them out now, I believe, maybe 4. Is this going to lead to a full album release at some point?
Yes, actually, that is the plan. Next year, we gather everything up. Look, we could have done it a bunch of different ways. We could have done it old school, recorded an album and released it. And then you've got like 4 to 6 weeks to make a splash and hope that something catches fire. So the way we're doing it, Steve and I, we decided, and Cleopatra agreed, is that we just kind of stay in the news, right? So every 8 to 10, 11 weeks, we drop a single in the video and it's like, oh, there's Femme Fatale again. So this is going to keep us going through, we have another single to drop close to Christmas time that is ready to go, which actually, I'm going to say what it is. It's the Femme Fatale, falling in and out of love, that has been re-recorded. And it's in the same key. It's badass. Steve just brought it. It's so huge sounding. It's massive. And I do want to say Bruno, oh gosh, am I going to forget his name? His last name. Anyway, Bruno Ravel has mixed and mastered all of the tracks. And I was thinking about that this morning. I was on my walk this morning, and I was thinking about the mixes and how they're mastered. And Bruno just has this thing that they're crunchy. The tracks are they crunchy, and there's like this frequency that sounds so radio to me. Like no matter what the tracks are, there's this thing that he does. I don't know how he does it. I just know when I listen to Bad Love or Living Like There's No Tomorrow, it's there, this crispness, and it's yummy. Like it's radio to my ear, and I just want more of it. So shout out to Bruno, great at mix and master. And so that is the plan, dropping this stuff so that I stay in your face, if you will, as we go along, and then we gather everything up and we'll drop an album next year. We have about, I want to say we have 6 tracks in total that are done. There's also a duet that is coming out next year. And I will say originally it was with Lou Gramm. And then, Lou got super busy. We had gone in and we had recorded a song together, Heroes. And then, Lou got really busy, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And now he's on tour with Foreigner and doing all of these amazing things. So instead of just kind of waiting and sitting on it, we've made some other arrangements. And the vocals are done with another heavyweight artist that I think people are going to be kind of blown away that I recorded this song with this badass that is iconic, honestly iconic, and I can't wait for people to hear the track. So it is Heroes, but it is with someone special, and I am going to have Scott Gilman put some saxophone on the track, and then Steve and I will be putting some backup vocals on it. But I'm hoping that will come out in February. So, it's exciting.
It is exciting.
We'd be busy around here.
Absolutely. So, in addition to talking about Femme Fatale today, we are remembering Glen La Ferman, whose photography defined the 80s and 90s rock music scene. I feel sometimes when people in the industry outside of the major artists pass away, we kind of forget about them and their contributions to the industry. Especially with the passing of Ozzy and Ace Frehley recently as well. I understand you and Glen were actually close friends. How did you first meet?
Glen La Ferman, iconic figure behind the camera and in real life. I mean, what a crack up that guy is. Amazing personality. I first met Glen La Ferman, I want to say it was 3 years ago in February at Britt Lightning's birthday party. I had never shot with Glen back in the day. I knew who he was, but I had never met him. Back in the day, I shot with Mark Weiss and Niels Lozauer and some of the other great photographers of the day, but I never shot with Glen. And so when we met at Britt's party, I was just stunned that he was there, excited to meet him. And I just walked up and I was like, "Hi, Glen La Ferman. My name's Lorraine Lewis." And "Hi, handsome." That's actually the first thing I said. "Hi, handsome. I'm Lorraine Lewis." And we were just like this from that moment on. I took a selfie of us together. I'll have to share that with you. I look like a little girl. I'm like so excited. The look on my face, I'm like, all like, ooh. And we just became fast friends. We exchanged phone numbers and we got to be really, really close. I would go over to Glen's place. The first day that I walked in, I could not believe what I was seeing on the walls, from Bob Marley to Nikki Sixx to Slash to, just everybody. Lita Ford, the famous Lita Ford, backless chap photo with her ass showing. I mean, Glen took that. Glen is iconic. Glen did so many amazing things. And so we became really good friends. I would come over. He had the guest room for me. I would spend the night in the guest room and we would watch movies together. We would watch documentaries together. We would sit in his office and sing and dance and drink. And he'd pour me champagne. And Glen was just, oh, he was old school. He was a gentleman. He had stories for days. Like the man could have, should have written a book because his stories from back in the day before I knew him were wild. You know, he lived the Sunset Strip. He lived all of that. And his photos, you can tell a Glen La Ferman photo when you see it. As a matter of fact, right here on my wall, that's an original Glen La Ferman. I don't know if you can see it real well. But that is Lemmy back there, peeking through his bass guitar. And I got that from Glen. I love it. He signed it for me. It's number one of 25 prints of that Lemmy photo. Actually, Glen's so funny. He brought it to the Rainbow Bar and Grill party 2 months ago because I haven't picked it up yet. And so he like calls me and he's like, I'm here at the Rainbow Bar and Grill. I've got your Lemmy. I was like, what? He carried it to the bar and grill party. Glen was a great friend, a great man, gave me great advice on dating. He was just the coolest cat. I miss him. I didn't realize how much I used to talk to him in the course of a day or a week, and knowing that he was in LA. I live in Palm Springs, but knowing that Glen was in LA, it was sort of like this dark, fun angel, if you will, comedian that was always there for me and always looking over me. And yeah, I miss him. Woo! Glen, I know you're laughing at me right now, thinking, oh, she's getting teary-eyed about me. I know that he's loving that we're talking about him right now. But yeah, he was one of a kind, for sure.
I think, and you'll probably agree, that how an artist is presented visually is just as important as the music, and people like Glen were a big part of that. I didn't realize he shot the cover of the Alice Cooper Trash album, and that was a pretty iconic album for Alice. It was his big turnaround. It was his big comeback. And I think anyone that knows that recognizes the photo. And I'm sure that you agree that what Glen brought visually kind of enhanced just what the artist was about and their music.
100%. I mean, Glen was the man, and he was friends with all of the other great photographers of the era. They all were a little competitive with each other. I know this from hanging out with Glen, but the last, I would say, year, they all really came together. They all really came together. He invited Mark Weiss over to his home about 8 months ago, maybe 9 months ago. And Mark went into his home for the first time and saw the magic that was Glen La Ferman on the walls of Glen La Ferman's place. Him and Neil kind of, butt heads back in the day, but they became very close and were doing Friday night dinners together. They started doing that several months ago. So it was really a beautiful thing to see all of these iconic photographers from my era and my time just coming together and supporting each other. And then, when Glen got sick, they were really there for him as well. It was hard to see Glen get so frail and just because you're so used to him yelling, and in a photo session he yells. I actually, I didn't shoot with him back in the day, but I was so grateful and honored to shoot with him. Last March we shot together, and so we can talk about that as well because that was an amazing photo session.
That was coming up for my next question, actually. You mentioned you did the photo shoot with him back in 2024. You also mentioned you worked with other photographers. Did Glen have a way of approaching things different than the others?
I would say yes. Glenn was very different in his approach with how he shot. He shot in his home, in his living room. He had the backdrops, and it was a lot of work to set them up. He would have people come over or he would set it up himself. And from the ceiling down, he would have these amazing backdrops that were the signature Glen La Ferman backdrops and lighting. There would be music blaring. There would be booze flowing. And then Glenn would get the shot. Hard on his body these later years, but he would get crouched down and he would look for the shot and he would get you to move a certain way and he would shoot and shoot. And he would give you a little bit of direction and he would yell as he would give you the direction. No, 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 to your right, to your right. No, no, look up, look down. And he would be so intense and so like, I knew going into that photo session that he was going to yell at me and I was ready for it, but it's like he's not yelling at you. He's yelling to help you to get the shot, either to get a spark in your eye or he's seeing what he's seeing and he knows where the magic lives. That photo session that I did, I did that because I released a single called Save Me with Kevin Gucher from Gods and Monsters. He asked me to sing on the track with him. And so he had set up a photo session with Glenn for the two of us for the digital cover. And then Glenn and I were talking, and I thought, gosh, I've never shot with Glenn before. Maybe I could shoot with him this day before Kevin shows up. So I called him and I asked him, and he said, absolutely, let's do it. So I planned to do a rock photo session with him, and I took all my rock clothes and everything, had them out in my luggage. And then he called me and he said, okay, I don't want you to think I'm being pervy or anything, and I don't want you to take this the wrong way because we're friends, we're not romantic, this and that. But he said, would you be interested in doing a nude photo session with me? And I had never done a nude photo session with anybody before. Even back in the day, that photo that you see, the lollipop shot, where I'm kind of laying down and my boobs are kind of up and I'm on the ground, that was photoshopped. I had a bra on that day. I had a bra and a little petticoat, and they airbrushed. It probably took hours back in the day. Can you imagine? But I had clothes on in that shot. So I had never done a nude photo session. And it took me 2 seconds to figure out if I was going to do it or not. And I said, hell yeah, let's do it. I thought I can't be in any better hands at all than shooting with Glen La Ferman. And so, like I say, nothing weird, nothing salacious, just beautiful shots. And I have several of them. I was wearing some polka dotted pajamas that, eventually came off completely. But it was a great photo session. It was fun. He was just magic behind the camera, a little flirty, but like not raunchy at all. Like Glenn was always a gentleman with me. And I am so happy that I have those photos. I'm actually going to be releasing one of them. I've released a few with the pajama top on and lots of leg, but I have an actual nude photo. I actually wish I could pull it up on my screen and show you. But I'm going to be releasing that photo because I think it's so special and so cute. And everything's covered, but not covered. You know what I mean? It's really, really sensual, but not raunchy. I mean, look, at the end of the day, I'm not a porn star. I have a lot of porn star friends, but I'm not a stripper. I'm not a dancer. I'm not a porn star. I'm a musician. I'm a comedian. I'm an entertainer. At the end of the day, that's what I do. I'm an entertainer and a performer and a singer in a rock and roll band. And I love these iconic shots that I took with him. So grateful. I will say, and forgive me for running on and on, but it was just such a special day. And the next day he was looking at the shots. He's like, these shots are so great. He's like, I'm dying to post something. And I said, Glenn, you cannot post anything. Please, you cannot post anything. And I remember saying, this is so funny because I was the lead singer of a V band at that time of Vixen. And I said to him, Glenn, I will surely get fired if any of those come out. Like You know, you can't do that. And he was like, oh no, I know there's no way. I know that I can't. And then, we just sat on them for a long time. And then I got fired anyway. I got fired in May. And it had nothing, absolutely nothing to do with the photos. It had absolutely nothing to do with joining OnlyFans. I saw an interview recently that someone said that I probably got fired for joining OnlyFans. And no, I joined OnlyFans months after I was let go from that band. May, June, July, August, September, October. 6 months after I was let go from that band is when I launched OF. And I really was under the radar until Mitch Schneider and I decided to do a press release in January. But that's not the reason. I don't know what the reason was, but that's not the reason. And I kind of wanted to clear that up because those photos were in the vault. They were in the Glen La Ferman vault. But I think it's time, especially with his passing, I think it's time to show some of those because they're brilliant. And again, it was just a moment of me with my badass photographer friend that opened up that door for me to feel so comfortable to just let it all go and not flip out. I'm a grown ass woman and I can do what I want to do. And so I did.
Now, these photos with Glenn, they're going to appear at your OnlyFans page at some point, correct?
I've not shared them on OF, but I think now is the time to do so. But not even for OF, just for the masses. They'll be available on my website. I think I'll do a little blur out, and I think that that's like the best Christmas gift right now. And going to my website and ordering those. I haven't put them up on the website yet, but it's just a moment in time. And it says so much more than it's like, oh, Lorraine Lewis is naked. It's not about that. It's about the art. It's about the art. It's about Sammy's camera and Glenn and their friendship and getting, he would say that them over at Sammy's, those were the best printers. Relationships were built off of Glen La Ferman and his craft and his art. And that's really how I see these photos. They're special. They're a moment in time of me with my friend that was such an iconic photographer.
And I think a lot of people get confused with OnlyFans thinking that it's strictly a pornography site, but it's more of a fan site. Yeah, there are some things that delve into that, but you talk about artistry and there's a lot of that as well. You launched your page about a year ago. How's it been going? How has the reaction been so far?
The reaction has been unbelievably amazing. Look, I know that I'm over 50. I'm a grown woman, and there are lots of fans that were following me since they were 16, 17, 18 that are like, wow, I can't believe I'm talking to you. I can't believe you're, flashing me, because I'll be honest, I do that. Like, why not? I mean, I showed up cute today. I mean, it's a part of sex, drugs, rock and roll. And if people want, toned down rock and roll, it's just not my brand. It's not my style. I've always been in your face. I was always crawling on the ground in videos. And that's always what I've done. So I'm not a different person. I'm just more in control of my life and make no apologies for my life because I'm having the best time. My parents left the planet a long time ago. I'm not married. I can do as I want, and it's a freedom. It's a freedom to do as I want to do. So yeah, the OnlyFans is just a vehicle to connect with people and have fun and get flirty. And look, I get some crazy requests that's like a hard no, but I gently say, that's a hard no. It's not going to happen. It's just me. Guys have lots of wild fantasies that they want to see. And I do my best to fulfill, but at the same time, I'm not gonna like invite five random guys over to my place and do something wacko. That's just not me. There are plenty of girls, and we call those models, that do that kind of stuff. I'm not here to do the modeling. I'm here to connect with my people, to give them an experience that they never would have thought they would have gotten when they were 16, 17, 18 years old. I mean, I did have a song out called Waiting for the Big One, people. Like, don't forget that, right? I do smack my ass in the Falling In and Out of Love video. I mean, this is rock and roll. It is fun. The 80s were fun. So, yeah, it's just a great vehicle for me. And when you ask how is it going, you know, I was let go before the summer tour. The OnlyFans has made up for the summer tour times, I can't even tell you the number. It's a full-time job. I also work in television. I'm a TV producer. And so the OnlyFans allows me to just continue to do what I do. I cast all sorts of shows, from Temptation Island to there's a new show out on TLC called About Face, there where we help people that have deformities and things with their faces that are crazy, that we have really done some good work for. And there's so much more to me than just TNA and a rock and roll chick. I'm a lot of layers. I went to college. I was a journalist major. I mean, I'm a lot of different people. What's that song? I'm a million different people from one day to the next. Ashcroft, who opened up for, this is my segue into talking about one of my favorite bands of all time, Oasis. Yeah, Richard Ashcroft opened up for Oasis, and I flew to the UK to see them this summer, their first show in Manchester after 16 years. I saw them in Pasadena. Yeah, I mean, life is good. So, yeah, sorry, I can talk all day.
That's fine. On the business side of OnlyFans, do you find yourself having to try to kind of stay on? You mentioned control. I could see that something like this could get out onto the internet for free and kind of tarnishing the business plan as far as that concerned. Is that something that you come up against, people taking your content and posting it for free?
I have seen a few things, but here's the thing. That's not the experience. That's not it. Like, you can see a photo of me, like, so what? But when I'm in your DM saying, good morning, you want to have a cup of coffee with me? And it's my voice and it's really me talking to you. I mean, that overdoes, that just is like cream of the crop compared to just a photo of me. I mean, that's just not really it. I mean, I really talk to these people, and I have a lot of people that like have things with their health, or their mom is in the hospital, or, I'm kind of a cheerleader for my people. They can really, tell me what's going on in their lives. I mean, it's not just photos and videos or whatever. But there are videos. I mean, there's some feet stuff that goes on too. I will say that I have had some requests of peanut butter on my feet, and I did it. I mean, what can I say? Smearing peanut butter on my feet, not a big deal. Not a big deal. So, yeah, I just think OnlyFans has just been very good to me, and I'm not going to stop until I'm not going to stop. I mean, there's no reason to stop. It's been really good for me in a lot of ways, and it's another layer of me that, people can talk about. It's just like, that Lorraine, who does she think she is? And I'm okay with that, because I do feel that I get messages from men and women, and some of the women that message me, they're like, you help me come out of my shell. You are helping me say no to this and yes to this. You help me. You're an inspiration. Now, do I really think I'm an inspiration? That's such an egoed out thing to say. But if I can just encourage, that's a better word, encourage people, men and women, to take a risk, to take a chance. I mean, I've taken lots of risks in my life. And I just kind of, let's see what's next. I'm just going to keep on going. So am I an inspiration? I don't know. Like I said, that's kind of an egoed out thing to say, but I want to be an encourager to not give up, not stop. You don't have to just sit on the couch and watch TV. And you can do things forever, forever. Like I'm not going to stop forever. I don't even think about age as a number. I think about energy. I'm about energy and vibe. You know, I I've dated all ages of the spectrum. My sweet spot is late 20s, early 30s. But I just life is meant to be fun. And that's what I'm doing. I'm having fun.
So why don't we hit the time machine a little bit here on your career? Let's go back to 1987. You formed Femme Fatale. Within a year or so, you're already signed to MCA Records, releasing your self-titled debut in 1988. How did that all go down with signing with MCA?
What great memories I have of that. We did 9 shows at the No Bozo Jam nights that Ricky Rackman used to do at the Whiskey A Go-Go. We kind of got those gigs from all the guys were like dating hairdressers at the time, and that's how that happened. The hairdressers knew Ricky, and that's how we kind of slipped in. And we stole the show. There weren't a lot of females doing what I was doing. There was Lita Ford, Doro, obviously, but Doro wasn't in Hollywood. Obviously, there was V Band that was there, but they weren't really on my radar. I wish I would have been friends with them back in the day. Bands like Soraya, I can't even think of anymore. Obviously Lita Ford, but coming off the Runaways, I mean, she was already iconic, in my opinion, for being a part of that band. So there weren't a lot of girls doing what I was doing, and moved to LA, Hollywood from Albuquerque, New Mexico, started doing the No Bozo Jam nights. And then a woman named Andrea came to the show and said, I work with Howard Kaufman. Howard Kaufman was a really big deal back in the day. Howard Kaufman, Irving Azoff, Marty Callner. That was like the trio of elite men that ran the music business back in the day. And she said, I work for Howard. He's looking for a band for me and him to co-manage. And I thought you were great, and I would love for you to meet him. And that's what started everything off. I went and had a meeting with Howard at his office. She told me, don't be offended if Howard meets with you for 5 minutes. And I went to Goodwill Industries and I bought myself an outfit, like a tight top that was like, I don't know, $10. I had ratty shorts on, cowboy boots. My hair was huge. I walked into the office and I was there with him for about an hour. We had so much fun. I was sitting on his desk. I was playing with his pens and pencils, and we just had a really great time. And then at the end of all that, they came to a show. Howard Kaufman and Andrea came to a show at the Whiskey A Go-Go, a No Bozo Jam night. And as the story goes, how Andrea told me was he had already liked my energy, my vibe, everything. And then he looked at her while I was singing the ballad Rebel, and he said, she can sing. She can sing. And that was like, yeah, she's not just a prop up doll, whatever. But I also do want to kind of rewind that day that I had the meeting with Howard. And this is how my new book is starting out, but I'm going to give it away. I had the meeting, I left. Andrea called me. We didn't have cell phones then. Like, I guess I had a rotary phone. I can't even remember how this all went down. But Andrea calls me and she said, Howard loves you. He wants to manage you. Welcome aboard, kind of a thing. But he has one question for you. I was like, okay, what's that? The question was, Howard said, if I buy her a chest, will she wear it? And I said, fuck yeah. Are you kidding me? Girl from Albuquerque comes to Hollywood, gets a boob job from Howard Kaufman. Absolutely. Like, that was like, yes, I will. And I will tell you that before that, I was auditioning at the Tropicana to be a mud wrestler and a dancer, because back in the day, it was the 80s, people. It was the 80s. Boobs and hair and all of that, Playboy bunnies, that was the sign of the times. And so I went to the Tropicana to work, to get a job. They hired me And they said basically how it goes is girls usually start working here. They do private parties, they save their money, and then they go get a boob job. That's kind of how, that's the ABCs of Hollywood and how girls get boobs in Hollywood. Remember, people, it's the 80s. So when she called and said that, and I was like, oh my gosh, absolutely. Are you kidding me? I was just so like astounded. Um, but that was how it all went down. And that's, Howard bought them for me. Now, did that get rolled into the budget for MCA? I'm sure, because he was a businessman. But in my mind, I got boobs bought by Howard Kaufman. So that was kind of a cool thing. But yeah, that's how it happened. That's how it happened. We got the deal after 9 shows, teamed up with Howard, brought in Irving Azoff. Gerald Busby had seen us at a showcase that we had done for Manhattan Records, by the way, that Manhattan Records had paid for. But me being so new to Hollywood, I didn't understand the etiquette. Still kind of don't, kind of just do my thing, ask questions later. But it was a paid showcase by Manhattan Records. I invited Andrea. Andrea invited MCA. So we're there at Lead Studios and Manhattan, there's food, and we're getting ready to jump on stage. And in walks the big wigs from MCA, and they all know each other. And it got weird, but MCA politely went upstairs and watched the show from the rafters. Gerald Busby was there, who became the head of Motown. And during Rebel, we locked eyes. Even though I was blinded by the spotlights, I had no idea that we had locked eyes. And we had a moment, and that's the moment that he decided that he should sign me. So me and Femme Fatale. So the next day we had meetings, and that's how it went down. I mean, I was like the luckiest girl on the planet.
Who did you tour with after the album came out?
We toured with Cheap Trick. It was my birthday, and Howard Kaufman called me and said, it was like a week before my birthday. He said, no, it was my birthday. He called me on my birthday and he said, I have your present. And I was like, what's that? And he said, you're going on tour with Cheap Trick. Another wow, pinch me moment. Really, you're kidding me. It was the Flame tour. The Flame is one of my most favorite songs ever. And so we went out. I think LA Guns had gone out with them over the summer. And then we jumped on October, November, December kind of a thing, and had the best time of my life. Now, have I done a bunch of other huge tours? No, I haven't, other than getting with the Vixen girls and got to do a lot of shows with everyone from Quiet Riot to Great White to Stephen Pearcy Band to Rat to, everybody, all the 80s bands. But yeah, touring with Cheap Trick was another icing on the cake moment for me. Yeah, it's been a blast for sure.
Well, it seemed as quick as Femme Fatale arrived on the scene that they were gone. You guys disbanded in 1990. Was it just like industry changing? Was it, crooked executives? Was it bad managers? What led to the disbandment of Femme Fatale?
The disbandment of Femme Fatale happened for a lot of reasons. I think one of them, the climate changed. The musical climate changed. All of a sudden it was all about Nirvana. And, and I hated Nirvana at first. I mean, I hated that song, Teen Spirit. I thought the video was cool with the dancing girls and the bouncing boobs and stuff, but I hated that song. It just sounded like screaming to me. And it really, over the years, grew on me. But yeah, I think the musical climate really changed. I don't want to say that grunge killed the vibe, because I think that that's so dumb and so cliche and an easy way to not put the blame anywhere else. But, look, we got in on the tail end of the glam metal scene. And again, I'm a rock singer. I'm not a metal singer. I'm not that. I sing. And so I think that it was just the climate changed. Management was great. A lot of changes happened with that. My manager, Andrea, got sick, very sick with brain cancer. And then I was working with Mike Klink, from Guns N' Roses fame. And the plan was we had a development. It was like kind of a loosey-goosey kind of development plan. But the song, I wrote a song called Buried Alive. And he loved that song, and the plan was to go in and record that with the Guns N' Roses guys. We had meetings about that, and Mike Klink, if you're listening, we can still do that. We can still do that. Matt Sorum on drums, Slash on guitar, Duff on bass. So if you're listening, Mike, we have unfinished business. We could do that. We could release that. That would be amazing to work with him on that track. But yeah, by then the wheels just started falling off, and then MCA wanted to keep me as a solo artist, which, I could have done that. The advice from Andrea and Howard was not to do that because they wanted to take all of the debt that, the videos, shooting with Marty Callner and all of the stuff, they wanted to take that debt and put it on me as a solo artist, and I would have been digging myself out of that for years and years to come, possibly. Howard just didn't like that deal. Looking back, I could have done that deal. Left to my own devices, I would have done that deal. But it wasn't for me to say. And so then by then it was sort of done and over. The band wanted to stay super heavy. I wanted to be more melodic, true to myself, more vibey. I've got a little flavor of country in me, a little twang. And so I kind of just wanted to do something different. I just didn't, again, I'm not girl. And I think that they wanted me to be that, and I'm just really not. I like to sing. So things just changed, and by then it was over. As fast as it was there, it was over. And that's why I say I have unfinished business. I still have dreams. I have dreams from the 80s. I have dreams of why I moved out here, and I have fulfilled a lot of them. But again, it's not over till it's over. So yeah, I just want to keep going. It's what I love to do. And I love singing. I love performing. I love the people. Why do I do what I do? I love the people. I love the relationships. I love rocking and rolling on stage. I love headbanging. I love climbing on speakers and is she gonna fall? I mean, I love I love freaking people out. I love getting the crowd on their feet. I love people, putting their fists in the air. I mean, I just love it all.
Well, before I let you go, Lorraine, you mentioned the Australian tour. Are we going to see you live somewhere in the US next year?
Yes, I was just talking to a promoter on Halloween, and there are some shows coming up in 2025. So all I can say is stay tuned. Find me on Lorraine Lewis Rocks on Instagram, my website, lorraineLewisRocks.co, not com. Lorraine Lewis Rocks is everywhere. I'm on OnlyFans TV, which is Lorraine Lewis. I left the rocks off that, but it is safe for work content. It is basically like a glorified YouTube channel where I do fun things. We filmed at my Bad Love release party, and I've been in bumper cars, I'm axe throwing, which I'd never done before. So it's just some behind the scenes kinds of stuff of me and my everyday life. So I wish people would join that. It's free to join and just really fun. You won't get fired when you pull that up.
Well, Lorraine, Fem Fatale is back with unfinished business, and the latest song is Bad Love. It's out now, and Lorraine Lewis is in full swing everywhere, it seems. And I want to thank you for taking the time to talk about all of it today.
Thank you so much. And thank you so much for letting me go on and on about Glen La Ferman. Rest in peace, Glenn. And I'll be drinking some champagne for you tonight. Thank you, George.